if you care for my efforts which I put in this video, then please do share, because caring is sharing. Hello my dear friends, welcome to another new session from Anamika's EduSpace, and in this video we are going to talk about biodiversity conservation and wildlife, which is present in your class 12 chapter number 15 of your NCERT book. And this total note has been taken from the NCERT book. You can follow the whole note if you wish, because the whole note is a gist description of the whole chapter. Not a single topic has been skipped or missed. So if you want, you can go through the whole video and take up the whole note for your quick learning. Okay. So as you know that biodiversity conservation and wildlife is a easy chapter, and our Anamika's EduSpace presents it in a quite beautiful way, in a quite colorful way. The slides are awesome. So if you see the whole video, then please do like, share and subscribe to our channel. And above also a link will be pop of the different other courses of class 11 and 12, which you can follow. All the chapters are given, and you can just click and view the and go the playlist. So guys, let me explain you what do you mean by biodiversity at first. Now bio means life, we all know, right? And here diversity means variation. Okay, so please note it down and never confuse between the word what is biodiversity. Bio means life and diversity means variation, means the variation which is observed among the life forms. That is only described in a quiet way, that is variation observed among the organisms in a habitat or in the different ecosystem is known as biodiversity. Okay. Now let me go deep down to the topic. Now the term biodiversity is an umbrella term, and this umbrella term was described by Norse and McManus. Okay, Norse and McManus in a 1980. Now after the description of this umbrella term, the term biodiversity was coined. And who coined this term biodiversity? The name is Walter Rosen in 1985. Though the dates are not very important, but a clear concept and a deep down knowledge is quite important, as I think. Now coming to the labels of biodiversity, or considering all the aspects of the biodiversity, there are some dimensions of the biodiversity in an habitat which extends from the inner molecular level. Now what do you mean by inner molecular level? Inner molecular level means starting correct from the nucleotide level. Okay. Now nucleotide means the genetic level. That is, biodiversity is not only considered as a variation between the different life forms that is present in the ecosystem, but also considering their genetic level, and also considering a species or an individual different from another species or another individual. So that will be known as the species diversity. And the last one will be known as the ecosystem diversity, that is the diversity or the variation between two such ecosystem. Now how a ecosystem is formed? The ecosystem is formed by the organism plus the abiotic factors, that is the non-living matters what are present around in the ecosystem. Okay. Now, the dimension of the biodiversity extends from the inner molecular level, that is the nucleotide, or considering the inner molecular features, to the organisms, then even to the population, community, ecosystem, and the whole biosphere. Okay, which extends to the whole biosphere gradually. Now, in the conference of the Rio de Janeiro, we all know about this conference, right? Rio de Janeiro. In this conference, biodiversity was defined as the variation among the organisms with respect to the species. Species was considered, community was considered. Community means suppose a community of the trees and community of the man. That is similar kind of species forming a community. Similar kind of species forms a community. Clear? Now between the community or the ecosystem. That is, ecosystem means the species will be there, different type of genes will be there, different type of abiotic factors will be there, so that will be considered as the ecosystem. Okay, now this all expresses and all types of ecosystem, either it will be aquatic or may it be terrestrial, is considered as the total biodiversity of a specific or a particular region. Okay, now if you say, ma'am, what are the examples of biodiversity, then I may say there may be many variations among you and me, right? So that main variation is known as a biodiversity. In there may be variation among different trees community, among their morphology, among the structures. There may be variation, or there may be different methods of adaptation among the organisms for their reproduction. There may be different flowers in a garden. Some are yellow flowers, whereas some are red flowers, whereas some are the blue color flower, right? So different type of different colors of flowers in a garden, the various corals in a coral reef. Okay, and different type of plants, and different type of plants in a forest, right? In a forest there are so many kind of trees, there are so many kind of plants, that will be known as the biodiversity, right? Now, after considering so many things under a single term, this has been coined as the umbrella term, considering so many things under it. Into these things, the biodiversity has been considered to be divided into three main levels, that is genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity. Okay. Now, what do you mean by genetic diversity? The genetic diversity says that each and every organism, may it be you, may it be me, may it be a tiger or anything, each and every organism has a specific genetic base. And when the organism is separated on their genetic makeup, on the individual nucleotide sequence present in an organism, then that will be known as genetic diversity. Clear? Now the genetic makeup only makes your genetic diversity. Now let me see an example which is clearly mentioned in your NCERT book. I can see that is Rauwolfia. Okay, this is a very VVI important example. So please do learn it and never do miss any single point from this very line. It also comes in your competitive exam like the NEET. Rauwolfia vomitoria is present in Himalayan regions, and it shows the genetic variation in potency and concentration of the chemical reserpine. Okay, we can also see that India has more than 50,000 different strains of rice. Thousands of varieties of mangoes are also present and seen in our ecosystem, right? Next, coming to the next term, that is species diversity. Okay, now what do you mean by species diversity? Species diversity is the diversity between the two different community, that is the diversity present between the tiger community and the trees community. Now in an ecosystem there may be different type of inhabiting species which constitute a community. Okay, though there will be interaction among them, but there will be diversity. There may be diversity between the Western Ghat amphibian and the Eastern Ghat amphibians. Okay, so that will be known as the species diversity. The clearly explanation is diversity at different species level. Genetic diversity is diversity in different genetic level. Okay, now coming to the ecosystem diversity. Now what do you mean by the term ecosystem diversity? Ecosystem diversity means diversity at the ecosystem level. Okay, now ecosystem diversity is that there are different type of ecosystem, that is the deserts, the rainforest, the wetlands, the mangroves, and etc. There are different type of ecosystems, and the diversity between these different type of ecosystem, or the variation between this different type of ecosystem, will be known as the ecosystem diversity. Clear? According to Hedgewood and Beste classification, the main types of ecosystem diversity are considered as biome, bioregion, landscape, habitat, niche, and population. Similarly, for the genetic diversity also, Hedgewood and Baste's classification has been compared as the population, individual, chromosome, gene, and nucleotide, and varies for the species diversity. It is kingdom, phylum, then class, order, family, genus, species, subspecies, then population and individual. Is it clear? This is all about the Hedgewood and Beste classification. Now, in the ecosystem diversity also, there comes three main type of diversity, that is the alpha diversity, beta diversity, and gamma diversity. Okay, alpha diversity means a diversity between a single community. Suppose let me draw this picture. Now there is a river in between. This is the river. Okay. Now here is some trees and here are also some trees. Okay. Now this particular thing will be known as the alpha diversity, or between these two will be also known as the alpha diversity. Okay, between a specific community. Alpha diversity means specific community will be there. Community of the trees, or particular community of the human beings, or particular community of the animal, that is the tiger. Okay, for example tiger, or community of dogs. Okay, so that will be known as alpha diversity. And what do you mean by beta diversity? When there is a tree and there are some birds also. Okay. Now, the diversity between these birds and the trees, that will be known as your beta diversity. Okay. Between two specific species. Two specific species. There will be two species. Remember, there will be two specific species. That will be known as beta diversity. And when there will be the diversity, that is this whole box, this whole box coming between the whole ecosystem, when there will be diversity between the whole ecosystem, that will be known as gamma diversity. So gamma diversity consists of the alpha diversity plus the beta diversity, whereas beta diversity consists of two alpha diversity, and alpha diversity means a single species or a single community. I hope it is clear. Let's move ahead. Okay, students. So, analysis of the Indian biodiversity. Now, what do we learn from the Indian biodiversity? India was one of the land which had the diversity or richness of the different type of species. It was well known home to Asian lion, Asian elephant, Bengal tiger, Indian rhinoceros, and it was a home to, you may say, 1,15,000 species of the plant and the animal community. Okay, but now it has been degraded, and almost it has came down to 45,000 different types of plant species in India. Now, India has some of the world's most biodiverse regions. The political boundaries of India encompasses a wide range of ecozone deserts, high mountains are there, high land, tropical and forest, and the temperate forest are there, then the grassland are there, areas surrounding rivers, many type of different type of rivers are there. Okay, so there is a richness of species in India. Clear? Now, a clear term comes that what are the major cause for the loss of biodiversity? Lost due to the term of extinction. Then there were deforestation, there were habitat destruction, then there were overexploitation, invasive species population, extensive agricultural practices, disturbances of the natural and the man-made places of the wildlife conservation, and then there were hunting and international trade, that we call as hunting and poaching of the animals. Among all these causes of biodiversity extinction, habitat fragmentation is very important, and this cause is also considered as one of the major cause term. When a habitat is divided into two or more fragments for human settlements, dams, railway tracks, etc., not only the animal species surrounding the environment or surrounding that particular habitat is affected, but also other insects, many type of organism, many trees, plants, and all the organisms in present in that particular habitat affected. Now, coming to the cause of biodiversity extinction. Why there was extinction? Because of the alien species invasion. Now, what do you mean by alien species? Species means exotic species or the foreign wild species. Now, introduction of those species, for example, introduction of Lantana camera and introduction of water hyacinth, that is Ecornia, destroyed the tropical countries including the India. Okay. Lantana camera is an exotic shark and it strongly competes with the native species. Competition for struggle of food, water, sunlight and all the resources, and it has eliminated many of our native species. It has also invaded many forests in different parts of our country, and this water hyacinth has clogged water bodies and wetlands, resulting in death of several aquatic animals and several aquatic plants. So there was a loss of biodiversity due to this alien species invasion. Now coming to the co-extinction. What do you mean by co-extinction? When a host becomes extinct, then the parasite also extinct. There are some organism which totally belongs for their survival on the host species. Okay. Now when the host is extinct, then there will be no one to provide them their livelihood, and thus the parasite also gets extinct, right? For example, we can take a example of yucca. Coming to the over exploitation. Now over exploitation is totally man made. We cut down the forest and these areas are converted into human settlements, harbors, dams, reservoirs, cropland, grazing ground, mining sites. So this type of excessive exploitation over our mother earth leads to over exploitation of the species. Uprooting of the medicinal plants, that is the excessive exploitation of the plant or the animal species beyond their renewable results. For example, will be the excessive felling of the trees, overgrazing, hunting and poaching of the animals, uprooting the medicinal plants, and extinction of many species has this type of extinction has led to the extinction of many species like the dodo from Mauritius, cheetah from India, and passenger pigeon from America. Okay. So please do note it down. These examples are very important for in this chapter. Next comes the protection of the species. Now, who does protect this species? IUCN, that is International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. IUCN maintains a red data list. Right now, what do you mean by red data list? The red data list is just a book which maintains the catalog of the taxa or the species which facing the risk of extinction. Now, what are the extinct species? Extinct species means the species is no longer present in our environment. For example, dodo, cheetah and passenger pigeon. Critically endangered species means that they are in the verge of extinction, and if not protected they will extinct soon. For example, berberis. Endangered species means the taxon is facing high risks of extinction in the wild, and in near future they will not exist if there is no protection, and their habitat is also decreasing. Red panda is not seen nowadays, if you remember. Next is vulnerable species. Now vulnerable species is presently the population of the taxon is facing sufficient but is undergoing depletion. It is decreasing and degrading day by day, and in near future due to some of the factors it is also facing the risks of extinction. Example of black buck. Bishnois protect the black buck. Next is the threatened species. Threatened species means the rare species, the clouded leopard of the Himalayas and the intermediate leopards. For example, the Mexican prairie dog. Okay, that is the example of a threatened species. I hope it is clear what you mean by evil quartered. Okay, so these are the evil quartered. First is habitat loss and fragmentation is the highest most and the highest risk factor which is destroying many species. and next is the overexploitation, third is alien species invasion, and the fourth is co-extinction, that is the parasite and the host, as I said you. Okay, so these are known as the evil quarter, or these are known as the four major causes. Evil quarter, we may say that this is referred to as the elimination of the species from the earth, if and the rate of extinction of the species is just accelerating due to these four main causes. So these are the four main causes of extinction, and we must look after these four main causes. Okay, now comes the last topic of this chapter, that is the conservation of biodiversity. Now, why we need to conserve biodiversity? There's no need, there's so many species, and one will go, another will come, right? We think like this and we destroy, we overexploit, we destroy the things. So conservation of biodiversity is needed because of the three main factors. First is narrowly utilitarian, broadly utilitarian, and number third is the ethical utilitarian. First is human economic benefits from the nature, such as firewood. Now today we are cutting down the trees and thinking that today we are getting the firewood, we are getting the log, we are getting the wooden part of the trees, and it's good. But in near future, if we recklessly cut down trees, and if we recklessly, if there is excessive falling down trees like this, then in near future there will be no firewood left, there will be no fiber left, there will be no construction of the materials, there will be no construction of the material, there will be no industrial product, and ultimately there will be no lubricant, dyes, resins, perfume, medicines. Okay, and we cannot live without medicines. Remember, we cannot live without the industrial product. So by thinking for the near future, if now skip everything to a limitation, then we can save trees, save our economic benefits from the nature in the near future. Next, and the second part is broadly utilitarian arguments are have major role in many ecosystem services. Major role in ecosystem services means the tourism. Now we have forest, we have wildlife sanctuaries, bird sanctuaries, and the national parks, and there is a ecosystem service. We are getting the firewood, forest wood, each and everything. We are getting the main important thing, that is our O2. We are getting oxygen. And now if there will be no trees, then we will not be able to get oxygen. And also for our fruits, for our main food, we depend on the plants, we depend on the bees, birds, bats. If there will be no flowers, if there will be no trees, then there will be no insects, no birds, no bats, and ultimately we will get no food. So this is the major thing. Example, we may say Amazon forest produces 20% of the total O2 in the earth atmosphere. You may imagine 20% alone is produced by the Amazon rainforest. That's why it is told as the lungs of the planet. Okay, remember it and never forget. And also the Amazon rainforest is in the verge of extinction. Next is the ethical utilitarian arguments. Now there are some ethical values that if we save the tree, then only we can save us. That is one of the ethical value. Then there are some of the sages or old Indian ancient sages which depend on Ayurveda, and there are many people who depends on Ayurveda. Now Ayurveda is a broadly described term which comes from the mother nature only, or every species has an intrinsic value of them. They also have their own choice of existence. We cannot kill them like this. Next is we do have a moral duty. Next, what are the types of conservation? So now there are two main types of conservation. One is in situ, means inside, and another is ex situ, means outside. In situ means in the site. Okay, similarly in the site means conserving something within their own region, conserving something in the hotspot area, conserving something in the protected areas. What are the protected areas? Protected areas are national parks, sanctuaries, biosphere reserves, sacred groves, lakes, etc. Whereas ex situ conservation is the gene banks, that is the genes are taken and that they are protected in some other laboratories, then they will be known as the conservation of the genes, and that will be known as the gene bank. Arboreta means where there are a large area where the oldest trees are protected, that will be known as the arboreta. Then seed banks where the seeds of different types of various species which are in the verge of extinction, their seeds are protected. Then cryopreservation. Cryopreservation is very important. And minus 196 degrees Celsius under liquid nitrogen or frozen temperature, ultra low temperature. Okay, in the liquid nitrogen, some of the species are useful seeds, then vegetable propagated plant, tissue cultured embryos, spermatozoa, germplasm can be stored, and that is known as cryopreservation. Now, in zoological park also, the animals are conserved and protected from being extinct in the wild. And what are hotspot? I missed it out. So, hotspot are the area which is richest and the most threatened reservoirs of the plant and the animal life. Okay, now there are two hotspots in India, that is the Western Ghat and the Eastern Himalayas. The Western Ghat and the Eastern Himalayas are really rich in flowering plants, then amphibians, then reptiles, and some mammals and the butterflies. Okay, I hope I have cleared all the doubts in this chapter. And also you can visit our channel where more videos are present related to class 12 and class 11 chapters, which you can find in distinct playlist if you visit our channel. And also to subscribe to our channel if you like this video, and turn on the bell notification to watch more videos from our channel in the near future. And also subscribe to our channel to watch more videos in the near future like this. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.